You've hooked a chain to it 1,000 times. That steel bar bolted across the bottom of every trailer's rear frame. You back up to it. You feel it stop the tractor. You don't think twice about it. It's named after a dead movie star. And her death is not the reason it's there. You know the bar, even if you've never known its story. You've seen an old one rusted so bad it hung crooked off the frame. Some of you have watched one let go on the interstate and drag behind a trailer, throwing sparks. On the paperwork, it's the ICC bumper. Out on the yard, plenty of men call it the Mansfield bar. And there's a problem with both of those names. The commission the first name honors doesn't even exist anymore. Congress shut the Interstate Commerce Commission down in the mid-1990s. Men have been hooking chains to an ICC bar for about 30 years after the ICC that named it was gone. And the woman the second name honors didn't die until more than a decade after the rule that put that bar on the trailer already existed. That's the part almost everybody gets backward. The requirement for a rear guard on heavy trailers did not come out of some famous tragedy. It was already written. It was already law. The Interstate Commerce Commission put it in place, and it took effect in 1953. By the time the crash that made this bar famous ever happened, the rule meant to stop that exact kind of crash had been on the books for 14 years. It just wasn't strong enough to do anything. On a June night in 1967, on Highway 90 outside Slidell, Louisiana, a car ran up under the back of a slow-moving tractor-trailer. The actress Jayne Mansfield was in the front seat, and she was killed. For almost 60 years, the story people repeat is that she was decapitated. She wasn't. The coroner said so. Her embalmer said so. What people saw tangled in the wreck was a wig thrown loose on impact, and the myth grew from there. The truth is worse, and it's worth getting right, because it shows you exactly what this kind of crash does. The semi ahead had slowed down behind a truck spraying for mosquitoes, and that fog hung across the road and hid the trailer. The car never had a chance to stop. It slid straight under the back of the trailer, and the bottom edge of that trailer came through the car right about at the height of a person's head. That's what underride means. The bumpers never meet. The car goes under, and the trailer shears the top of it off. 3 children were asleep in the back seat, down low, under that line. All 3 of them lived. One was 3 years old. Her name is Mariska Hargitay, and most of you have watched her on television for more than 25 years. So, the rule already existed. A movie star died, proving it wasn't good enough. And you're already asking the obvious question. They fixed it, right? Not for a very long time. The bumper the government required in 1953 stayed essentially unchanged for 45 years. Engineers started pushing for something stronger in the late 1960s, right around the time of that crash. It took until 1998 for a real standard to take effect. One with actual strength behind it and real rules about how the guard had to be mounted. 45 years. And when that stronger rule finally came, it only applied to new trailers. Every trailer already out on the road with the old weak guard was allowed to keep running it until the trailer itself wore out. So for years after the so-called fix, hundreds of thousands of trailers were rolling down the highway behind a bar built to a standard from the Eisenhower administration. If you were driving in the 80s or the 90s, you shared the road with plenty of them, and some of you were pulling one. Here's where it stops being a government story at all. The people who actually forced these guards to get stronger weren't regulators. They were an insurance lab. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, the same outfit that crash tests your pickup, went after this directly. They asked the government to tighten the rules, and when that dragged, they built their own test. They ran a mid-size car into the back of a parked semi-trailer at 35 miles per hour And they didn't just hit it dead center. They hit it 3 ways. The full width, half of it, and then just the corner. A 30% overlap catching the edge of the guard. And that's where the ugly part came out. Guards that passed the federal test, guards that were completely legal, folded on the corner, hit, and let the car slide right underneath. Meeting the standard did not mean the thing worked. So the Institute created its own award. They called it Tough Guard, and a guard could only earn it by stopping underride in all 3 hits, corner included. And the manufacturers moved. Most of the major North American trailer builders redesigned their rear guards to pass it, going well past anything the law required. A private insurance lab had set a higher standard than the federal government, and the industry met it. Which brings us to what was supposed to be the big win. In 2022, the federal government finally issued its long-awaited upgrade to the rear guard standard, and the people who had fought for it the longest were furious. By the government's own estimate, about 94% of the trailers on the road already met the new requirement the day it was announced. The rule mostly copied a standard Canada already had on the books, which meant the United States had spent years catching up to its neighbor to the north. It raised the test speed from 30 to 35 miles per hour, which sounds like progress, but it left out the 30% corner overlap, the hardest, most realistic hit, and the exact one that had exposed those federally legal guards in the first place. It was a real improvement on paper. It just wasn't much of one. A former head of the Federal Highway Safety Agency called it regulatory malpractice, and the safety researchers said flatly that it didn't go far enough to matter. And all of that, the rule, the death, the 45-year delay, the insurance lab, the disappointing fix, every bit of it is about one place, the back of the trailer, the rear. There's a whole other side to this that the rules barely touch at all. Nothing requires a side underride guard on a trailer, a barrier strong enough to actually stop a car from sliding under. Not United States federal law, and according to the government's own research, not the law of a single country on Earth. And the side of a truck is a long open gap between the front wheels and the rear ones, sitting right at the height of a car's roof. The Institute tested that too. A car hitting the side of a trailer with nothing under it but an aerodynamic skirt slid clean underneath and lost its roof. A car hitting a trailer fitted with a real side guard stayed out, and the airbags did their job. There's been a bill to require those side guards for years. It keeps getting introduced, and it keeps dying, and it came back again at the start of 2026. This is the part where your own people split, because this one is not simple. The government's own math says a side guard mandate would save around 17 lives and prevent about 69 injuries a year, and cost the industry as much as $1.2 billion a year to do it, hanging 400 to 800 extra pounds on every trailer built. And the drivers pushing back on it aren't villains. They're the ones who know what a low steel rail running the length of a trailer actually does out in the real world. What it catches on at a railroad crossing, how it drags on a steep ramp, how much ground clearance you give up on bad roads. The people who want the mandate come back with a number of their own, that the government undercounted side underride deaths by something like 80%, and the real toll in that gap is far higher than the official record ever admitted. 17 lives, or many times 17. 800 pounds a trailer, or a steel rail that hangs up on a grade crossing. The bar on the back took 45 years, and a dead woman's name to finally get strong enough to matter. The gap on the side of the trailer is still waiting for anyone to agree it's a problem worth solving.